Hello, friends, and welcome back to IntelligentPod. I'm your host, Sophie Lane, and as always, I'm thrilled to have you here with me. Whether you're tuning in on your commute, out for a walk, or just curled up with a cup of tea, this is the podcast where we dig into the big questions at the intersection of technology, psychology, and everyday life. And today, oh boy, do we have a fascinating topic lined up: AI judges and juries, justice in the age of algorithms. That's right. Today, we're talking about the rapidly approaching future of our legal systems, where artificial intelligence isn't just helping to manage paperwork or analyze evidence. It's actually being considered as a decision maker. Picture this. You walk into a courtroom, and instead of a stern judge behind the bench, you're greeted by a large screen displaying an AI's avatar. Instead of a jury of your peers, a complex algorithm sifts through the case facts and spits out a verdict. How does that make you feel? Excited? Uneasy? Maybe a little bit of both? I'll be honest. When I first started reading about this, my mind immediately jumped to all those sci-fi movies. Minority Report, anyone? Where computers have the final say in human affairs. But as I dug deeper, I realized this isn't some distant fantasy. It's already starting, in subtle ways, right now. So let's break it down. What does justice in the age of algorithms really mean? And should we trust machines with something as deeply human and as high stakes as justice? Let's start by looking at where we are today. First, some context. The legal system in most countries is famously slow, complex, and, let's be honest, expensive. Courts are backlogged, cases drag on for months or years, and there's always a risk of human error or bias. Enter artificial intelligence. In recent years, AI tools have been developed to assist with everything from scanning legal documents to predicting which cases are most likely to succeed. In the US, for example, some courts already use AI-based tools like Compass, which stands for Correctional Offender Management Profiling for Alternative Sanctions. It's an algorithm that helps judges assess the risk that a defendant might reoffend if released on bail. But here's where things get really interesting and a little bit controversial. Some legal scholars and technologists are now asking, why stop at assistance? Why not let AI take an active role, maybe even replacing human judges or juries in certain types of cases? Let's pause for a second. I want you to think about the last time you felt you were judged unfairly. Maybe at work, maybe in school, maybe even by a friend. Now, imagine if that judgment came from a machine. Would you feel any better about it, or maybe worse? Let's ground this conversation in some real-world numbers. According to a 2022 survey by Pew Research, about 65% of Americans said they would be uncomfortable with the idea of computer programs making final decisions in criminal cases. But interestingly, nearly 40% said they'd be open to algorithms assisting judges, as long as a human had the final say. That's a pretty significant chunk of people who are at least willing to consider some role for AI in the courtroom. But what are the arguments for and against AI judges and juries? Let's take a look at a few perspectives. First, the scientific and technological viewpoint. Supporters argue that AI can be more consistent than humans. Algorithms don't get tired, distracted, or swayed by emotion. They don't hold grudges or play favorites. In theory, they can analyze huge amounts of data, case law, precedents, sentencing guidelines, far more efficiently than any human ever could. In fact, some studies suggest that AI can predict the outcomes of certain types of cases with up to 79% accuracy, based on historical data. Now, let's consider the psychological side of things. Human judges and juries bring their own experiences, values, and biases into the courtroom. Sometimes that's a good thing. Empathy and moral reasoning are important. But it can also lead to inconsistency and unfairness. In 2012, researchers at Ben Gurion University in Israel found that judges were significantly more likely to grant parole to prisoners right after a meal break. Why? Because they were less mentally fatigued and more generous after eating. That's a pretty sobering thought. Would an AI judge immune to hunger and mood swings be more fair? But let's not forget the cultural dimension. Our legal systems aren't just about logic or efficiency. They reflect our values, our history, our sense of justice. In many societies, the idea of being judged by your peers, by real people with real lives, is fundamental. Would a courtroom without humans feel legitimate? Would people trust a system that's run by code, not compassion? I want to share a real-life anecdote that really stuck with me. In Estonia, a small country, but a big innovator, they've already piloted an AI robot judge to resolve small claims disputes under €7,000. The idea is to free up human judges for more complex cases. The AI reviews documents submitted by both parties and delivers a decision, which can be appealed to a human judge. So far, early feedback has been mixed. Some people appreciate the speed and objectivity, but others worry that the AI might miss important nuances or context. And then, of course, there's the question of bias. You might think machines are impartial, but here's the catch. AI is only as good as the data it's trained on. If historical data reflects societal biases, racial, gender-based, or otherwise, the AI can end up perpetuating those same injustices, just faster and on a larger scale. In 2016, ProPublica published a now-famous investigation showing that Compass, the risk assessment tool I mentioned earlier, was significantly more likely to flag Black defendants as high risk compared to white defendants, even when the white defendants had similar or worse criminal records. That's a chilling reminder that technology isn't automatically fair. So where does that leave us? Should we rush to replace judges and juries with algorithms? Or should we slam on the brakes? Let me break it down with some actionable advice, because, as always, I want you to leave this episode with something tangible to think about, or even apply in your own life. First, let's be aware. AI is already shaping the world around us, including the justice system, whether we realize it or not. Next time you read about a court case, ask yourself, could a machine have made that decision? Would it have made a better one? Second, stay informed and critical. If you ever find yourself involved in a legal process, whether it's a parking ticket or something more serious, ask if AI was used at any stage. Many courts are required to disclose this, and you have a right to know. Third, advocate for transparency and accountability. As citizens, we can push for laws and regulations that require AI tools in the legal system to be explainable and auditable. We shouldn't settle for, the algorithm said so. We deserve to know how and why decisions are made. And finally, let's foster human qualities, empathy, fairness, moral reasoning, in ourselves and in our society. Technology can help, but it can never fully replace the human heart of justice. As we wrap up, let's recap the main idea. AI has the potential to make our legal systems more efficient and consistent, but it also brings new risks, especially around bias, transparency, and cultural legitimacy. The future of justice will probably be a hybrid. Humans and algorithms working together, each bringing their unique strengths to the table. I'll leave you with a question to ponder. If you were on trial, would you rather have a human judge with all their flaws and wisdom, or an AI, logical, fast, but maybe a little cold? Or maybe the best answer is both. Thank you so much for joining me on today's journey through one of the most important debates of our time. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review wherever you listen to podcasts. It really helps new listeners find Intelligent Pod. For show notes, resources, and deep dives into today's topic, head over to IntelligentPod.com. And if you have feedback, questions, or just want to share your thoughts, I'd love to hear from you. Email me anytime at sophie@intelligentpod.com. Until next time, stay curious, stay compassionate, and keep asking the intelligent questions. This is Sophie Lane, signing off from Intelligent Pod. Have a wonderful day.